Namaskar. Welcome to the video on personality test. I am making this video for Pratibha Center for Foundation Classes 2019-20 for Janki Devi Memorial College. I would like to introduce myself before I start the session. I am Maitreyi Naidu. I am an alumna of this college. I did my graduation from here in sociology and then I pursued my post-graduation from IGNOU. In Civil Services Exam 2017, I cleared in my second attempt. Currently, I am in the Indian Trade Service. Why is the personality test important in the Civil Services Exam? As you are probably aware, the Civil Services Exam consists of two stages. The first stage is the qualifying stage, which is preliminaries, where you will be asked MCQ questions. The second stage is the mains. The mains consists of written part and the personality test part. The written part will consist of a multitude of papers where you will give subjective answers. The personality test is essentially an interview. Now, the personality test and the written part are put together for the evaluation of your rank. The personality test is of 275 marks out of 2025 overall. So it consists of a significant chunk. In fact, not preparing for the personality test is like not preparing for one of the papers of the written part. So something to be avoided. Now, I said it is out of 275 marks. What are the average marks? What are the good marks? Generally, anything from 160 to 180 is considered very good. It means that you have a good presence and you have given a good showing. Anything above 180, anything above 190, excellent. Anything about 200 is extraordinary and not something that can normally be set as a goal. Now, if you're getting below 160, that means there is scope for improvement. And that is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give you certain tips which I hope will take you from below 160 to between 160 and 170 or from 160 to 180. 190 and above is not something that can be done through conscious practice. It is a reflection of your inherent personalities. It is a reflection of a lot of factors that come together on that specific day. So I suggest don't focus too much on the marks. Just remember that there are tiny little fixes that you can make, that you can practice, especially if you begin early. So that is the next question. When should you start preparing for your personality test? It is a general tendency amongst candidates to leave this part to the last. They believe that let's cross each stage as we come to it. So we will do preliminaries first, and then if we clear that, we will study for mains and so on. Now this is a completely wrong approach. The first thing that you should be preparing for is the personality test, because what is being tested is your personality, and personality cannot be developed over the course of a few days or a few weeks. Therefore, you should start preparing for it from the very beginning. Then you should prepare for mains because it has a wide syllabus, and then you should prepare for prelims. So we are going to focus on the personality test part. Now, one of the key aspects of personality is body language, which is why you should see the other video on body language that I have also uploaded, where I have covered dress, deportment and gestures. These will form part of this analysis of personality test as well, but here my focus will mostly be on verbal skills. Now, the other question that I'm asked is, should we go for mock interviews? Are they important? My personality is my personality, so what can the mocks really do? Now, even for candidates who are very good in terms of social interactions, who are very extroverted and who have a very good presence, mocks are always advisable. The number of mocks depends on you. And also when you should take the mocks. For example, if you're very confident in your ability to do interviews, then you may take just a couple of mocks right before the actual interview. Otherwise, if you believe that you have some things which can be fixed, or that if you need practice, then you can schedule a few more. Whatever it is, don't exhaust yourself. Now, the most important thing that mocks do is they put you in a mindset which is appropriate for the personality test. Most of us, in most circumstances, are not used to paying attention for a span of 30 to 40 minutes continuously without zoning out. And that is the biggest difficulty we'll face. You constantly try to keep the attention of the panelists on you, and you try to keep your attention on the panelists. This can only come through practice. And having a mock a couple of days before the interview really helps with that. Now, some candidates also engage in panel research. They study the different interview panels that are there, the various members, and what kind of questions they ask, what they like and they dislike. That is not something I've ever engaged in, and I believe it is a factor you cannot control. The which panel you will be assigned is out of your hands, and more importantly, what they are like on that particular day is out of your hands. What you can actually control is what responses you give to the questions that are being asked and the situations that arise. So I suggest you dedicate more time to this than to panel research. Now, I have covered most of body language in the other interview, but there are a couple of aspects which I would like to emphasize again. The biggest problem that you will face during the personality test, especially in the first couple of minutes, is nervousness. You will either make a positive or a negative first impression based on how nervous you are. So, everything else, your dress, your posture, everything can be offset if you appear confident. So, how do you control nervousness? Now, you may say it is involuntary. There is very little I can do about it. It comes from practice. Putting yourself in situations that are similar to interviews can make you less nervous. Also, before you enter, take a couple of deep breaths. Smile. Smiling is a great way to relax yourself. In fact, smiling is a great way to go through the interview as well. Now, don't smile throughout the interview regardless of what question is being asked and how serious the situation is. But in general, this is not life and death. And that is what the attitude you should be taking to the interview. Engage with the interviewers and convey to them that you're happy to be there. You're happy to be a part of this process and that you're enjoying this process. So smile, and that will relax you as well. Now, the last thing is sweating. Now, sweating as a general thing may happen to all of us at any time. The interview hall is air conditioned, but you may still sweat through it like I do. The problem is when that sweating is taken as an indication of your nervousness. So it is a combination of multiple factors. If you're sweating, you're also hunched up, you're sitting like this, and you're not smiling, it will be taken as a sign of nervousness. I cannot control my sweating, which is why I offset it by appearing confident and smiling through it. So you need to be aware of where the shortcomings are, which can or cannot be fixed, and then trying to counter them. This is the body language part of it. Most of it has been covered. Now coming to the content. What should you be preparing? For the content, there are two parts. One is your DAF, your detailed application form, and the other is current affairs. Now you fill the detailed application form, a part of it before mains and a part of it before interview. This pattern has changed a lot over the last few years, and I cannot assure you what the pattern will be when you give the exam. But do remember that there will be a detailed application form where you will fill in details such as your name, your parents' name, their occupations, what all jobs you have held, what your qualifications and marks are, where you have studied from, what your hobbies are, what are the different prizes and all you have won. It is critical that you are thoroughly knowledgeable about every single word that you have written in your detailed application form. If you've written, I am from Janki Devi Memorial College, then you must know everything there is to know about Janki Devi Memorial College, as well as its founders, its achievements in recent years, what are the developments that have happened. The same thing applies for anything that you write in your DAF. If you write about a hobby, if your hobby is cooking, know as much as possible about it. The next part is current affairs. So how should you prepare for current affairs? Here you are rarely asked for facts. There will be questions which are straightforward, objective. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Do you have data for this? But the evaluation is not of your knowledge, and this is something you must remember throughout. You are being evaluated at this stage for your presence, for how you give the answers, how you treat social situations. So if you don't know the facts, don't stress out. But what you should know is how to form opinions. Often, if you say, "Sir, I do not know the answer to this," they will give you the facts and then ask you to give your opinion on it. Now, how do you prepare opinions? You must do a thorough study of the major current affairs issues that have happened in the last year or so. You have already done this for your mains. In fact, if you've studied, if you've cleared prelims, if you've cleared mains, all the material that you need is already in your head. All that you need now is to develop the ability to put it together on the spot right in front of the panelists. So, when you're preparing before the interview, don't just note down what has happened. Have conversations with yourself. In fact, that is a great way to learn anything. Read it and then have conversation with yourself. How, why, counter question, argue with yourself, and make sure you get to a reasoned position. That is how you develop the ability to generate opinions. Now, what you must remember is you may study 1,000 topics, both from your DAF as well as from current affairs, and you may not get even one question from them in your actual interview. You may go to 5-6 mocks and none of those questions may be repeated. That's because you cannot know everything there is to know under the sun. What is being evaluated is your ability to deal with situations you're not familiar with. Even when you're asked an unfamiliar question, do you have the ability to conduct yourself in a manner where you can deal with those questions? So, study as much as possible because it gives you confidence, but don't expect that everything will be from within the material that you have studied. Now we will go through a walkthrough of what the actual interview is like. So, what should you do on the previous day? First of all, don't try to read or memorize a lot of things. Like I said, the material is already there. Get a good night's sleep, and I know that is a very simple suggestion to give and very difficult to do. You may not get a good night's sleep because you're nervous. That's fine, but you don't carry it with yourself. Happens to a lot of people, that's perfectly fine. Make sure that you don't appear tired because of it, and make sure that you're not worried because of it that you'll go and fall asleep at the wrong time. Right? So relax. That is the biggest trick. There are 2 sessions in which the interviews are conducted, the morning session and the afternoon session. The morning session starts at 9 and the afternoon session at 1. Make sure you reach on time. In fact, make sure you reach well before time. The entry process and all takes a little bit of time because there are a lot of people there. Now, you don't walk in directly to the interview. The first stage, you get your certificates checked. Here you're distributed into the groups according to which your panels will be assigned, and then your certificates are examined for their authenticity. Whatever certificates you have submitted during while you were filling up your DAF, they will be checked. This takes a good bit of time. From there, you will be transferred to the waiting hall. Now here, depending on what your order is, you may end up waiting a few minutes to a few hours. So develop the ability to sit with yourself without freaking out. So you will be provided newspapers. Now in the morning session, it is better to read the newspapers. In fact, that is what I would have done in the morning session. But because I had the afternoon session, by then I had already read the newspaper and reading did not really capture my attention at that time. I went around and spoke to the other candidates. This is also something you can do and something which is advisable because these are people who are in similar circumstances. Don't ask them too many questions about current affairs. Don't try to intimidate them. Don't get intimidated by what they know. All of these mean nothing when you actually enter into the interview room. So, talk to people, read the newspaper depending on what your nature is. And that is the one reading material that you should have for that day. For the interview day, do not keep any last minute reading, only the newspaper. And the newspaper is a must because questions may be asked from whatever has happened that very day. Now, so you're sitting in the waiting hall. Suppose your turn comes. Now you will be taken through a hallway where you will be searched for any recording devices. Your watch will be removed, any pens and all will be removed. So don't panic, the watch you can get it back. Then you will be taken to right outside the interview hall. There will be a bench and you can sit there and wait. Now the candidate who has gone before you will take some time, so obviously the time for which you have to sit will vary. You will be offered water, whatever, you can be comfortable. Then you enter the interview itself. So, knock. Something not a lot of people consider. How should you knock? Up to you. Sharp, authoritative. It should be loud enough that they should hear. Knock twice, open the door, ask for permission, walk in. Now, how should you greet the panelists? You can use a namaskar. No handshakes under the current circumstances. In fact, a lot of your etiquette has to be changed in the changing situation. So you can use a namaskar, you can use a good afternoon, good morning, whatever you're comfortable with. Good afternoon, good morning have the problem that sometimes you may use good afternoon when you're supposed to be saying good morning sheerly out of nervousness. You can avoid that by saying namaskar. That is up to you. Now, who should you greet? So you have the chairperson of the panel right in front of you. Greet them. In addition, you can't go around saying good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Appears a little awkward, so you can make eye contact with everyone, and you must make sure that you address the female panel member, the lady members, separately. So do say ma'am. Either say ma'am, good morning, or just say ma'am. Make eye contact with everyone. This is a particular problem for male candidates. If they do not wish the lady member, that can be construed in a manner which is not favorable to them. So wish everyone, make eye contact with everyone. And this is the first moment when you can smile and relax and make sure you set the right tone for the interview itself. What should be the medium of the interview? You fill this out in your form itself. You can choose a separate medium from what you're writing for your mains. And this is something not a lot of people are aware. If you have the capability to speak well in your mother tongue or in any other language, please go for that. The important thing here is to convey confidence. If you have the right concepts, so the problem that comes is if you're writing the mains in English, then all your concepts are in English. Then it becomes difficult to give answers in the other languages. So make sure you know what needs to be said, you know the right words, and then choose your medium depending on that. Now we come to the verbal part of the personality test. How should you actually answer? The most important thing to begin with is to listen carefully. Generally, the chairperson will ask you the question and it will rotate like this. So the questions will come here, and often they try to get you to relax. They will say we are just having a normal conversation. There is no need to be nervous. So you can take those moments to take a few deep breaths. Just relax yourself a little bit, calm down and react. So listen to the question in its entirety. Rule number 1, never interrupt a panel member when they are speaking. They may interrupt you, in which case stop immediately. Don't try to talk over them. Listen to the question and answer exactly what is being asked. Don't try to deviate, don't try to introduce topics that are not being addressed. Candidates often believe that they can guide the interview in a specific direction, which is true. If you're skilled enough, you can so if you're being asked about your hobby and you don't know the technical aspects, you can guide the conversation towards your favorite athlete, for example. But that takes the kind of mind presence that is very difficult to use when you're in conditions which make you that nervous. So I would suggest not trying to do all that. Listen to the question and answer the question that is being asked. If you're being asked for facts, give the facts. If you're being asked for opinion, give opinion. Now, if you don't know the answer to a question, please say I don't know. Do not try to guess. Do not try to manufacture an answer. Do not try to appear all-knowing. These interview panels consist of members who are very experienced and you cannot deceive them. They will see right through you. So, avoid all of that. If you don't know, just say I don't know. Then they may say, please take a guess. And then you may guess. But don't start out with that. So, you hear the question, you take a couple of seconds break. Do not rush to answer. And that holds true for every question. If you rush to answer some questions and then you take a break for some questions, they will know that this is the question that you've already prepared and this is the question to which you're unfamiliar. So take a uniform break for every question. Now, during that break, you should structure your answer. This is what you do for mains as well. You have 7 minutes to write an answer, for example. You take the first 2 minutes to structure the answer in your mind to chart out the points. Here you get just 2 seconds. But even then, you can structure your answer. If you're not being asked a factual question, then you're being asked to analyze something or give an opinion on something. You need to have 1, 2, 3 points and then your analysis and then your opinion. When you're giving an analysis, always consider both sides so that you can present a balanced approach. Consider multiple sides if there are multiple sides to consider. But if an opinion is being asked for, you must convey your stance very clearly. Now, this means that you will have to take a side. Which side should you take? Know the government position. Know which side the government position is on. It is not necessary that you have to parrot it, that you have to agree with it 100%. But if you disagree with it, please know why you are disagreeing with it and give a reasoned argument. Do not disagree simply for the sake of disagreement, and at no cost should you say, I simply feel like it. That is not an adequate answer. The government position, the Supreme Court's position, those are your authentic positions in terms of having a standard answer. So if you diverge from there, but know what that position is. Now, if you have given a diverging position, it is entirely possible that you will be asked a counter question. The important thing is that you do not enter into an argument. Convey your side not more than 2 or 3 times. If you are having to repeat your point the third time, that means you're not understanding the question or that you're being engaged in a situation which is intended to make you frustrated. So, accede your point or simply say, I respectfully disagree, sir, and leave it at that. Now, when you're being asked questions, they will vary. So, some candidates are asked questions simply on current affairs. Some candidates, if they're already in service, will be asked service-related questions. If they're in different jobs, they'll be asked their job-related questions. I was asked a lot of questions from sociology because that was my graduation subject as well as my mains option. So, some candidates will be asked a lot about hobbies, whereas I was not asked at all. So, be ready to have the conversation go in a certain direction for which you are not prepared. In fact, I was very surprised when I was not asked a single question from my hobbies. When you're being asked questions, there will be pauses. Do not have a tendency to ramble. I said structure your answer. Once you have given the answer, let it be. If you feel that you have conveyed your answer in its entirety, do not feel the need to try to convince the panel by adding more points. Sometimes when you go from panel member to panel member, there may be a gap. Let the gap be. Let the silence be. Don't feel the need to say something unless you're asked a direct question. Now, you may always ask for any clarification. You may ask for the question to be repeated. You may ask for extra time. You may say, sir, ma'am, may I take 10 seconds extra and think about it? I was asked a question which was very tricky for me. So the first time they asked, I gave an answer and they said, you're not understanding the question, listen to the question carefully. And they asked again. And then again, I gave an answer which was not appropriate. And finally they said, no, listen to the question very carefully. And I said, after listening to the question, I said, excuse me, sir, may I take 10 seconds to think about it? I thought about it. I still gave the wrong answer. But it is important that you do not get frustrated. Like I said, you cannot possibly know what is the exact meaning that the panelist has in their mind. So it is important that you try to remain calm regardless of how frustrating the situation gets. Now, generally, they will not try to antagonize you because this is just supposed to be a conversation to know about you, to know what kind of person you are. And in antagonistic situations, you are not the best person you can be. But if that does happen, de-escalate as quickly as possible. Don't engage in an argument. And if at any point you feel Sir, you're absolutely right. Ma'am, you're absolutely right. I'm convinced by your point. Just say so. Now, all right, I think that is the entirety of the verbal part. So just remember, this is a structured conversation. The important thing is that it is not meant to interrogate you, it is not meant to criticize you. And don't go with this built-in idea in your mind that they're looking for people who talk in very sophisticated language or who use big words or who appear very wealthy. The basic idea is that you should have all the qualities which are necessary for an administrator, which includes the ability to connect with the people, and that is what you should include in your interview. But it is still a structured conversation, which means that these are not your friends. You cannot just ramble, you cannot just use random gestures. So be careful about what you convey, be confident about what you convey, and make sure you put the best foot forward. Now, I hope this is helpful. I hope in combination with the video on body language, this will be useful for you not just in your personality test, but in whatever endeavor you choose. Thank you for watching.